Well, hello, it's morning. That's right, it is morning. As you see by the bar there, it says April 10th, 2020. This is the snipped devotional this is a serious podcast um, out of that show from Good Friday, April 10th. So this is the Friday devotional. All right. That was maybe the most awkward introduction ever. But there you have it. So, coming on here in a few seconds is the devotional from April 10th. Now you have it in the morning. You don't have to cut it out of the or watch, try and scroll to it in the. Uh, this is a really terrible introduction. But you know what? We're going to leave it that way and we're going to laugh a little at how terrible Andy Moffat was trying to do this opening. Enjoy the Devo. We'll see ya.
Okay, good. We're going to mix up the schedule a little bit. We're going to do the devotional bit right now. For this past week, Monday and Wednesday, I highlighted a devotional book called Alive, and it's written by a guy named S. Rickley Christian. It's an older book for sure. But as I said in Monday and Wednesday in those podcasts, uh, good devotional book and one that I used when I was your age and even a little bit older. He had some good things to say. And here's the book, Alive by S. Rickley Christian. You can find it on Amazon, ca.ca, if you search Alive, S. Rickley Christian. And you can actually get the ISBN numbers for that too. If you go to my Monday, Wednesday devotionals this week, I've got them up there on the slides so you can see that. Anyways, I'm going to read this one. It's called Contagious or Contaminated. And it uses the verse Romans 2:24. God's name is blasphemed because of you. Whoa! That sounds pretty rough, but let's hear what he's got to say. Friend of mine, Tom, grew disenchanted with Christianity when he took a hard look at Christians around him. He discovered that his Bible study leader was involved in adultery with a friend's wife. Then he learned that another Christian leader he trusted had refused to sell his house to a respectable couple just because they were black. If they call themselves Christians, he said to himself, count me out. Hypocrisy has been a stumbling block for non-Christians since the days of the early church. In writing to the Roman church about Jews, Paul turned on the heat. He charged that their belief had turned to legalism and their commitment to God had become a form of religion. Sure, they seemed good enough in their own eyes. They prayed and read their Bibles. They tithed their money, fasted, and attended their churches and synagogues often enough to be labeled active and faithful. But something was drastically wrong. They knew what they believed, but none of it affected their day-to-day living. You who teach others, do you not teach yourselves? Paul wrote. You who preach against stealing, do you steal? You who say that people should not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who brag about the law, do you dishonor God by breaking the law? The result was that their churchianity and religiosity had turned people away from the Lord. God's name is blasphemed because of you, Paul blasted. In a letter sent to the Corinthians, Paul writes that we are Christ's ambassadors. He also notes that God has committed to us the message of reconciliation. In other words, God uses Christians to reach non-believers. We are his mouthpiece, his arms, his means of conveying love. And when that message is corrupted by our actions, others notice. They see right through the phoniness of religion. Of course, we might tell others that Christians are human and fallible and urge them to judge God only by himself. But the fact of the matter is that God has established us as his representatives, and if our Christianity isn't contagious, it very likely is contaminated. When I was reading that, I was reminded of a phrase that someone spoke to me when I was younger, and they said, do you want to be somebody that God is able to work through or that he has to work around? And I've always tried to keep that in mind. Do you want to be a Christian that God works through or that he has to work around? Am I a vessel of God's work or a hurdle in the way of God's work? Yeah, good reminder. So, Alive by S. Rickley Christian. If you're looking for a daily devotional book, I would really recommend this one. It's older for sure, but it's a gooder. It's a gooder. All right. Good.